It was September of 2009. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was installed as a pastor of the New Covenant Church of God in Christ. I had started it from the ground up, obtained my own location. God had blessed us to gain some followers. And I remember there standing in front of my jurisdictional leader, in front of my bishop, and he installs me as a pastor. Couldn't have been more excited. Couldn't have felt that I was more on track with what God had called me to do. Keep in mind, I've always known that I was going to called to be pastor. Keep in mind, I always knew that God was going to do something great in my life. And so here I am finally in September of 2009, hearing him say, I install you as the pastor of New Covenant Church of God in Christ. After everybody leaves, we go to the parking lot. Me and my wife at that time, we go to the parking lot, and standing by my car, she says to me, I want a divorce. I was shocked. I mean, what do you mean I want a divorce? This is the most important day of my spiritual life, of my spiritual journey. I'm finally stepping into my calling. And you mean to tell me now I have to deal with the strain of somebody saying they want a divorce? And when I asked why, her response was, because I don't want to compete with the church. I feel like you're going to put more attention to the church than you are to me. And so I want a divorce. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I couldn't believe my ears. I couldn't believe what was being said. How in the world could this possibly be happening? God, what is going on? And I heard what she said. We had a conversation, and my request was, well, can't we just push through? Just wait and see what's going to happen. And so for a little while, we pushed through. But within a year, there's an altercation between her and a member regarding how the member talked to her child. And I mean, a physical altercation. It was so bad, it spread through the church like wildfire. And so now I'm in a situation, what do I do? Do I have a church meeting? Do I scold my spouse? Like, how do you balance ministry and marriage? What do you do? And the Lord said to me in prayer, shut it down. I'd barely been open a little bit over a year. I mean, what do you mean shut it down? I'm going to look like a failure. I'm going to look like a fool. I'm one of the youngest ones to ever be installed as a pastor, to start a church. And what do you mean, God, shut it down? That next Sunday, I stood up in front of the church and told them I was shutting it down. It was one of the most humiliating, embarrassing experiences of my life. How can I shut down something I know God told me to do? Why would God even say that? Well, all I could do was tell myself, I know I hear the voice of the Lord, so I got to shut it down. My marriage didn't last much longer after that. Within the same year, my wife at that time decided to leave. I couldn't have even afforded to keep the church open on just one income. I couldn't afford to pay a house on just one income. And so I understand now why God told me to shut it down, because he knew what lied ahead. Remarried, very faithful to my father's church, and I begin to hear the Lord tell me again to relaunch. Didn't understand, because I was happy serving in the second chair, happy serving, helping him build, happy serving right where I was. But I feel this pull, I feel this unction to start again. And so, 2013, I decided I'm going to start again. And quickly it gained momentum. I mean, within 3 years, I went from 7 people to 250 people showing up every week. 3 locations, 11,000 square foot building. I had a daycare. I was writing checks for $2,500 a month to my own church because the business was successful. The church was growing. We had people coming. It was a great traditional, churchy type of atmosphere. People were coming, people were dancing, people were shouting, people were enjoying themselves. Great crowd. Nobody knew, though, that there was struggle and turmoil going on at home. Then news gets loose that I'm getting a divorce again. Apparently there were secret meetings happening I knew nothing about, and now scandal had leaked out in the church, and I went from 250 weekly attendees down to 25 in 6 weeks. 11,000 square foot building, 7 classrooms. But now 25 people. I had walked away from the business because I felt I'd rather walk away from the money than to have stress in home, the stress with dealing with a situation that I knew was no longer good for me and toxic. And so I lost access to that money. It was just my job. I couldn't afford to pay the rent at that building because it was too much, and I lost all these people. I had to decide to leave. To know that I relaunched and went that big, looked that successful, had that many friends in ministry, pastors who said they would always be there. and then now felt alone, I lost my mind. To hear all the different rumors, and 50% of them were probably true. I can say that 50% were accurate, but to know that there was a whole different scenario, a whole different side to the scenario that nobody knew, but I couldn't say anything because my job was to cover no matter what. It broke me. And so now, once again, I'm faced with this question: do I push or do I shut down? And I prayed, emotionally distraught, emotionally losing my mind, but I never heard God say shut it down. I wanted to, but God never said shut it down. Right when I thought I was gonna snap, right at my breaking point, right when I said I'm done, again, I remember a couple of my members saying, if you close, I don't know where we'll go. And so I finally said to myself, well, as long as they come, I'll keep preaching. Even though I needed to be preached to, even though I was crying behind closed doors, as long as they come, I'll keep preaching. How do you handle your personal life in shambles and not allowing it to cause you to quit in ministry? How do you handle knowing your life, your mind, your emotions are a mess and you still pushing forward in what you've been called to do? When do you close versus when do you take a break and have somebody come in and cover you? Those are questions most people don't know how to navigate. But I want to encourage you that there are some out there who can pour into you. There are some out there who can encourage. There are some of us there who have been through it and know how to navigate this difficult terrain. How long do you take a break for? How long do you step away from the pulpit? How long do you stay silent while you're hurting on the inside? When do you go to counseling? Or when do you go to a pastor friend? Who do you open your ear up to? Who has your best interest at heart? These are all questions you have when you're in transition in a situation you did not expect. So many churches are dying because they don't know how to respond to scandal. They don't know how to respond to turmoil. They don't know how to respond to somebody's personal life being blown up, even though it has no negative impact on their anointing. I want you to know that God is not done with you yet. God has people there who can pour into you. God has people there who can show you how to navigate this difficult terrain. You cannot quit. You just have to have enough sense to go to the right person, to have the right counsel, to have the right advice, to have the right person pouring into you. But it's up to you to get the help that you need. It's up to you to reach out to people who can pour into you because they've been there. They've been through what you're going through. One of the blessings about what God has called me to do is that I created this program called the Kairos Leadership Network, so that way we can help counsel pastors, counsel people in ministry who are dealing with struggle and don't know how to handle the rough terrain. Maybe take some time, reach out. Somebody, a part of our team, can help you. Somebody who's connected to us can pour into you and hold your hand, because I've learned nobody should go through alone. Nobody should go through dark spaces without being reminded that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Don't quit. It'll get better.